Hello everybody and welcome to part 2 of today's day number 4 action featuring Judd Trump against Gary Wilson. World number 1 facing the world number 18. Reminder that the winner of this pair will himself face the winner of John Higgins' Storm Ford battle. That match is going to start alongside this one as the referee is ready to get this game underway. Really excited about this one, I have to say, especially after seeing Wilson being good enough to knock out Sean Murphy. You know, Trump had a decent campaign himself already in this Wuhan Open, beating Jack Lisowski yesterday, and it will be Gary Wilson to be breaking off here. So he's the one to start. And we're ready to get some action underway here. Because we've already seen a really good match today between Mark Williams and Mark Selby. Of course, the Welshman coming on top in that particular battle. But this is now an all-English battle. And a potential favourites clash, you know, especially after Wilson has knocked out Sean Murphy. And Trump starts with a brilliant long pot there. So he's off to a great start. And I think he's letting everyone know who's going to be the favourite in this match and in this frame as well. Brilliant long pot to find himself nicely on the yellow. So 3 points scored already here as he comes back to the lower side of the table. Has got a couple of reds that are not going to be too difficult for him to deal with. And then we'll have to be working in and around the black spot, you would imagine, at the early stages here. But got himself with a chance here. And straight away, going to be applying some early pressure in terms of the points tally on Gary Wilson. It's already 4 points scored here. He's nicely on the pink, so at least 3-4 more reds for Trump and potentially try and deal with, if he can get around and through to them in the upcoming moments. So once again, this time the pink have to be placed underneath the bunch, as he doesn't seem to be fitting on his spots as of yet for now. Well, I think when Trump makes, not too sure if I've seen what I've seen there, but has the referee just moved one of the reds out of the way? It may have been just an illusion from me. I'm pretty sure you're not allowed to do that. Anyway, 11 points here for Trump as he gets another red under his belt. So nicely on the black once again. As I say, has, well, 3, maybe 4 more reds to try and deal with, as he got already 18 points on the board. Going nicely here. Once again, in and around the black spot, accumulating maximum points. No questions will be asked as of here. I think it will be interesting to see when he gets to that point of him requiring to sort of do something with the position. Can he do that from the first time of asking? He has a little bit of an angle here on the red to try and potentially go into the pink. So do that carefully so that he guarantees himself to end up on the black. And does that one really nicely. Develops one of the reds, sacrifices the perfect cue ball positioning on the black, so has to bridge over the red there. But I'm pretty sure it's a sacrifice that is worth paying if you're Judd Trump, to get 1, maybe 2 more reds into the play there. Which has to be careful here. We'll be adding a lot of top spin. And once again on the black, as it disappears. So nicely done. 34 points scored already. We're looking to make that 50 at least in the first time of asking. Once again, another red is in. It wasn't too easy from the angle he was playing there, but Trump has only gone and done it. Nicely onto the green once again, so 38 points. Has underrun that cue ball a little bit there, so we'll face a middle range shot in terms of that red. And we'll have to use the rest for that as well. So a lot of topspin, and I assume he'll use the cushion to end up nicely on the black, which he does. And probably just about perfect there. 39 points already. Will be 46 with a black. May actually go into the position there, or unless he has got another red to play. And he does, so right underneath the pink spot. Got one more that is available to him. And forces the way of the cue ball nicely. So once again on the black here. He's got another red that he just freed up a little bit more that he can potentially play into one of the middle pockets. So already 54 points with that black coming in. So straight away a 50 plus break accumulated here by Trump. Decides to go against that middle pocket shot because it was really difficult for him to try and get on it. Decides to go for the corner one instead. A little bit of a more difficult cut, but in the end all manageable by Trump. As he lands nicely with the right side of the blue. I think with needless effort, he'll be nicely on the red. And cruising into the frame ball, I mean, it only needs one more red after this one. And the frame will be won. Technically, if he goes for the black here, he will win. The black will be frame ball here for him. With 68 will be the gap. While 67 will still remaining on the table. Goes into the back of reds there. Judd Trump making sure that he's landed on at least one more. Doesn't look like to me that he has, so might have to actually attempt a double. As you can see, the frame has not even been lasting 6.5 minutes. That frame has already been pretty much ended there by Judd Trump by him getting a frame ball. I think he can afford to try a double into the left middle pocket. And doesn't seem to make it. So he's gone for, I think, a safe shot there with an idea to land on the black. So I think Gary Wilson will come back to the table. It's only one snooker and 1 point in it, technically. So only the second time of asking here that Wilson steps up to the table in the first frame. And once again, I'll have to play a safety shot here to land on the ball cushion area. I think Trump will just be really keen to end this frame as soon as possible and get on the next one that will matter for him. So doesn't seem to be too much in a rush, which is a positive thing if you're one of the Trump supporters. He's gone for a really good safety there and seemed to have worked out for him nicely. So all of a sudden it's Wilson now that has to respond with a safety of his own. Of course, needs to eliminate at least 4 of those reds until he can try and get himself a snooker on the last one. He's gone for a pot there and clearly miscued and left the red for Trump. So Trump will just finish the job off here. He pots another red, so another chance to have a similar sort of break. I mean, 67 points were on the table. Trump got a break of 68 just before that. Quite rarely you see players making breaks of 60 plus twice in the single frame, especially being the same player. Usually same amount of points, but shared over one break. Trump now gets on the red and dispatches the pink nicely. So 82 points already, 14 on the break. He's got a red into the right pocket as well to his name. Nicely done there to land on the blue. Pretty straight, but at this point of the match, this point of the frame, it doesn't really matter. Still finds a decent position on the red. I think once again we'll have to go either for the pink or the blue. Decided to go for the pink. So Probably just a warm-up here for Trump, having these two breaks. Neither of them are going to be resulting in the century anywhere close to that. So he has 96 points on the board. With the black will make it over 100 points tally, but only a 35 on the break. Chance to get 27 more on the 6 colors, and a brilliant transition there, and a brilliant shot there. Under no pressure from Trump, but still really nice to see. So he got 105 now. The break of 37, looking to make that 40 now. And yeah, playing around the table. So as I can see, especially the second break, it's just taken as a practice shot there, and a wonderful cue ball control to go around the table. At least 4 cushions that I've counted, and end up on the brown as well. A break of 44. Making that 49 with the blue. And I think we're going to see another shot around the entire table here on the pink, because there you go, it doesn't disappoint, catches the jaw, but still has got enough of the cue ball control. And we'll come over to try and pot the black as well. As the interesting thing is, Trump has managed to walk the entire around the entire table, and the cue ball was still traveling, waiting for him there. So 2 breaks of 68 and 62 win Judd Trump the opening frame, so he's off to a brilliant start. And Gary Wilson will have to try and come back in this match, because the first frame hasn't even seen him in action. You know, he barely played 3 or 4 shots there. And Judd Trump had 2 brilliant breaks of his own, getting the job done from the first time of asking with the frame ball, and then just finish it off to avoid any more action from Gary Wilson. On the other table, Mark Allen is now very close to winning the opening frame against Jeb Chaonu. Si Jiahui now won the first frame against Stephen Maguire. He'll be looking to be the second Chinese player that Maguire tries to beat after beating Zhao Xingtong in an incredible decider yesterday. And of course, the match, the winner of which will play either Judd Trump or Gary Wilson. Tom Ford against John Higgins, with Higgins now already leading by 1 frame to 0. So quick start to majority of the matches there. Only Allen and Jeb Chaonu are still in action. As John Higgins is actually on the break in the second frame already. So Tom Ford has early struggles against the Scotsman in form. As we wait for the players to come back here to the action and hopefully see a little bit more of Gary Wilson. As I say, had barely 5 shots in the opening frame. And Judd Trump was able to do all the damage to him. Can he try and respond with anything there, Gary Wilson? And find himself back level potentially, or try at least get any sort of points tally on the board. As remember, with those 5 shots, he hasn't put any of the balls there. So we'll have to aim for that at the start of the second frame. It'll be Trump's turn to break, of course, on the even frame. Hello, Kami. Nice to see you, my friend. How are you doing? How are you doing? Nice to see you here. Yes, so finally here we're back on table 1. And it's Judd Trump. There's back with a break off. Does it from the right side this time. Catches it cleanly. Cue ball action is good. And the Reds have slid up nicely as well. So good break off there from Trump, as he seems to be all about business earlier on. And Gary Wilson has to pick up the scraps there of what is left on the table. And nothing was left on the table in the previous frame, with Trump picking up 130 points. Gary Wilson haven't picked up any. And once again, straight away, he's in trouble, he seems. As you can only see the thinnest of margins on the red on the left-hand side, but can't really produce a safety out of it. So has to find an alternative route. And that is taking him some time there, so I think he'll just try and roll onto the bunch there. But the problem with that is the break-off from Chomp was so good that he split up the reds nicely, and that bunch is just no longer there. And it's sort of one solid space. It's all reds bunched up. So he goes for the 2-cushion escape, tries to flick off the red, catches the blue for good measure, and it's a really good shot there. Wilson just gets him out of danger that time. Chomp will be looking to put him back to danger once again. Yes, he has found the shot there, Chomp, but surprisingly for me, he's the one that makes an error out of absolutely nothing, and he gives away a chance to Wilson. So all the time that Wilson took on the previous shot seems to have worked out nicely for him, as he had Chomp in just enough trouble for him to make a mistake. Now has a rest shot, Gary Wilson. Needs to be off to a flyer here in terms of his spot success, and he is. A really important shot, and a good pot there from Wilson as he gets himself on the board here in this match and in the second frame. Has got a nice little cut on the black there to get himself nicely on one of the reds. But he hasn't actually got too many off available. But at this point, just a couple will do. Settle him into the match and into the rhythm. And then he can try and make some more out of the position that he has in front of him. 8 points on the break score already. As the referee will just check if the black ball can go in his spot. Wilson actually needs it to be there. And if it's not going to be there, it's going to be an issue. And once again, there, just referee taking his time. It is going to be important for Wilson to have that black ball in his spot, because he's got pink covered up. And transition to the blue every single time won't be easy for him. And of course, if the black is tied up to the red, it's not that much of an issue, because you can try and maybe develop it from this time around. As you can see, it won't do him any good here, because it seems like the black is not really potable in any of the corner pockets for now. So let's see what his answers to that is going to be. So he thinks he certainly is, so he's played for it. I mean, I've only seen it from one pocket, but it does look like the red is covering it up, but it obviously isn't if Wilson's playing for it. But the problem was always going to be lining on the red, but of course, don't miss the black in the first place. I mean, I won't go back to it, but I'm pretty sure that, you know, if he was playing it in the first place, then he should have gone. But from the angle I would have seen, I wasn't going to go for it anyway. Wilson has. And now that has put him on the back foot and back to his chair. Chomp hasn't got an easy introduction here. He's got a red that potentially can go past the black that is now covering majority of the pocket. So let's see what he's trying to do here. Chomp, he is very much a man that could make the red go into the cushion with a lot of force and just bounce off the black into the pocket. Let's see if that's going to be the case. Or is he going to go for a conservative safety approach? Once again, taking his time. That's an important shot this is for Chomp. Especially if he is to take on a difficult pot from not a favourable angle to him. See, just checking there just how much room he has to get past that black. So clearly looking to take this red on into the cut, into that pocket. And there's your answer. He's going for it. And it looked like he was going for it, but in the end he just refuses it. One last look at the red, and he chooses a safety option there. So after careful consideration, Chomp just thinks it's not worth it at the early stage of the match to be going for pots like that, potentially leaving a frame-winning chance for Gary Wilson. With the position not being the best one, but certainly not the worst. As Wilson is the one that goes for a sort of 50-50 pot, misses it, and gets away with it this time. With, I think, only a red to the middle for Chomp potentially available, and No way you're going to take that one on from the where cue ball is. Absolutely no value in that shot whatsoever. Just the risk, and Trump goes for a safe option. Takes the one of the red ball off the cushion, puts it into play, and Wilson is back at the table now with the cue ball being safely in the ball carrier. Nicely done once again by Wilson as he develops some of the reds. Pink is still very much covered up, but the cue ball position was pretty much perfect. Probably couldn't hide all of the reds with them being spread up quite widely there, but he did what he could do. Now Trump has got himself to a little bit of a thinking process to try and get out of this situation. The fans in the back don't seem to stop clapping there every single time and waving to the camera every single time they see themselves on the screen. Yes, Trump has just gone for a brilliant shot, but I have a feeling it's only going to earn him 1 point, as the cue ball has landed in the same sort of trajectory as the two reds in the way of the black. So it will just be a safety, and a really good pot that is. Probably deserved a lot more from it. But just 1 point here for Trump. And yeah, so uses the green as a cushion for him. Brings white nicely onto the sort of cushion next to the yellow pocket. And Wilson has got it all to do again. He's got away with one there, Wilson. You know, the cue ball wasn't tied up to the cushion. Needs to be a little bit better with them, especially with the form that Trump has been showing. And straight away, as I say that, he's played a much worse shot than that and gives away a couple of options here for Trump. Let's see what Trump has to say about that. Just has a little look on the right side of the table. Doesn't seem to be looking at too much as the left side, which I personally thought would be the one for him to take. And there you go this time. Has a little look towards the right side of the table, but I think the angle that the blue is located in seems to be like it's not in the trajectory, but you have to be careful not to just touch it slightly and ruin the entire shot and probably the entire frame for yourself. As I say, the colors are not exactly on their spots, but the reds are very much well spread out, and anyone who gets a chance first here will be a massive favorite for this frame. As Trump seems to be the first one to do that, but once again has just got a red in the way there. And for all the brilliance he has shown with his shots so far, Trump, he just seems to be getting not too much luck there. And needs to be careful here. Not to go for something that isn't really there. You know, he's eyeing up a yellow potentially. A mid-range shot, but not the most favorable angles, especially for the pot angle. I mean, you would assume that he can judge the cue ball control to a good enough extent to be landing on at least one of the reds. But potting the yellow and doing that is going to be a difficult challenge for him. So decides probably against that in the end and goes for the brown, it would seem. So just another safety here. So two brilliant long pots, but only 2 points scored there for Trump, as once again he puts Wilson comfortably on the cushion in the bulk area. Now Gary needs to make sure he doesn't give away a third chance to Trump, because you feel like, you know, it's only a matter of time until the lack of Wilson will just run out, and eventually Trump will just find himself landed nicely on one of those reds and not necessarily get the job done from the first time of asking, but get himself with a comfortable lead and probably do exactly the same as he's done in the first frame. Just do it in 2 really good visits. Wilson here seems to be lining up a red though. And yeah, I did feel like he was going to miss that one, and he certainly did. So Trump now has an option into a green pocket, or B, into a middle. I'm not too sure which one would be the easiest, with a lot of distance between the cue ball and the middle pocket shot, and of course an awful lot of distance between the target red and the green pocket there for him. Don't think he's going to come away with a safety here, Judd Trump. I think he's going to take at least one of those chances. And he seems to be edging towards the shot into the middle. And potentially actually considering a safety, which I'm surprised to see in this position. Surely, if you just screw back slightly, the only red you can give away is the one you're actually trying to pot now. Into the middle. Let's see if he goes in. And he doesn't, so he knew that one straight away as soon as he hit that. And he hasn't actually got as much cue action on the cue ball, and has left a pot to pretty much both angles here for Gary Wilson. The first one, the right corner pocket one is a little bit more trickier because of the red ball not right next to it, and I think getting on the color will be a challenge from there. So I say the one to the left corner pocket is more appealing, and you can get yourself nicely on the blue, but that's not what Gary Wilson is thinking. He goes for the right corner pocket, and in the end he judges the cannon on the red nicely, lands himself on the black. Cue ball though quite close to cushion here, so a lot of distance between the two. Needs to judge the next red perfectly there, and does it decently. I wouldn't say perfectly, but he's all right here. And as I say, the position looks very much promising. I think it's a really good chance here for Wilson, especially after him not showing particularly good game in the first frame and a half. You know, Trump had two brilliant long pots in the second frame already, only got him into 2 points though, because to my view, he was unlucky in both of those times, not end up on the red. So Wilson now has 2 or 3 reds to choose from, and goes for the one to the right corner. Lands in between sort of brown or yellow. I think he'll have to go for the yellow this time to get himself the right side of the table. A lot of backspin there, so not straightforward, but nicely done. And he's got a shot into the right corner pocket once again. A little bit of distance and the angle between the cue ball and the target red there, but should be able to manage it. As Trump just watching on the screen, you would assume, as this time it's a lot better shot from Wilson. Gets himself on the blue nicely. Even if there's no gap, he just think he can allow himself to just hit through it with a lot of topspin and land on one to the red or to the corner. Which is exactly what he does. Now has got 2 options, either one to the right middle or one to the left corner. I think he'll just judge which one is easier to get on the color from, because the one into the corner, which does seem to be playing, the cue ball will be going into another red, pushing it onto the cushion probably, which probably favors Wilson in the circumstance that, you know, Trump will be the one playing the catch-up, with already only 83 points remaining on the table, with Wilson being 31 points clear. So got himself a free chance here to get himself back in the match. And of course he has to make sure he uses one of those every single time he gets one when you're up against Judd Trump. And Judd Trump that had a really good start to the match, it would seem, and also had, as I say, 2 really good long shots in the second frame, but that one mistake could cost him dearly here, as Wilson is on his way to be picking up some more, I would say, easy points, because those reds are probably the best possible positions for him. And this time he's going to be in and around the black, you would seem. Just 2 more reds, and I think the damage will be done here to Judd Trump, and it will be 1 frame all. Needs to get there though. 48 points already. Be 49 when this red goes in. And I think he'll go for the black once again, nicely using the cushion. No mistake there. Can go into the reds or can just try and go around them and land on one into the middle pocket. Decides to go the second option and the second route there. So a frame ball here for Gary Wilson. It was always going to happen once, at least once. I had to do it once. I did it in the second frame. It's not Kyron, it's Gary Wilson. Kyron Wilson is already out. And funnily enough, the man that has knocked Kyron Wilson out is also out now. Aaron Hill has lost the decider to Zhang Anda. As Gary Wilson gets himself a frame on the board here. With a really good break, it would seem. You know, the position wasn't the hardest, but the fact that he was, you know, smooth in his positional play, didn't make any errors, and now has got a break of 60 himself to go with the 2 breaks of 60 plus from Judd Trump in the previous frame. 62 and 68 they were. Now, can actually equal that should the black go in, as the red along the cushion disappears, so a nice shot with the rest there. And the black is in, so indeed it is now highest break equal at the moment. Wilson is of course still at the table and has got a chance to extend that to his advantage should the red along the cushion go in, and indeed it does. So not too sure if there are enough points for a century here. I'm pretty actually sure, yeah, I think they are. If he gets a total clearance with the 76 points being the break and 27 on the table, you can still get a break of 103 should he put all 6 balls here. So it'll be a brilliant start here to the second frame and to the match in general, with both players finishing sort of frames in 1 visit. I would count the first frame as 1 visit as well, because Trump, to be fair to him, he got the frame ball during the first time of asking. Of course, went on to have another decent break of 62. Wilson here, 3 pots away from a century break. So 90 points now after the blue, 96 with the pink, and the black for the century break here for Kyron Wilson to get himself a frame on the board. Really nice stuff here. Wilson gets himself on the score sheet and also gets the highest break of the match so far with the 103. Trump didn't do a lot wrong there. Was doing a lot of good stuff, especially in the opening shots, but in the end it was Wilson who came away with a good chance, and it was the only chance that he needed to get that frame 1. So it's now 1 frame all, and with a little tradition, let's go to the other tables. John Higgins now finds Tom Ford needing snookers. John Higgins threatening for a 2-0 lead, which seems very much likely now. Mark Allen has finally finished the first frame and is now on course to win the second one as well, with a little advantage in terms of points. Stephen Maguire now could be facing himself 2-0 down against Si Xiaowei, as he's another man that finds himself 30 points and a frame down there. But Maguire is the one on the break, so could he try and catch up to Si Xiaowei there? I'm pretty sure one of the last 2 Chinese players that are left, 3 I should say. Zhang Anda is the first one, Xiao Gudun is the second one, and Si Xiaowei is the third one. Looking to be the third in the quarterfinals, with Zhang Anda and Xiao Gudun being already there, of course, after the morning session. As we wait for Gary Wilson to get the third frame underway here, as he's going to be his turn to have a break off when the players go back to the action. Still no massive updates in the other ones, so just Maguire trying to close up the difference between Si Xiaowei and himself. It's still been 25 points with 35 on the table now, so could be on the cusp of a win there. As Tom Ford finds snooker against John Higgins, so he only needs one more to be in with a chance to steal the second frame. Still very much unlikely at this moment in time. But we'll have to see about that now. We're still waiting for the players to come back to the table on table number 1, round 3 here. 1/8 to the final, and it is Gary Wilson indeed with the break off. This time from the left side, in contrast to Judd doing it from the opposite side, in between the brown and the green. Decent break off, nothing too special there from Wilson. Leaves Trump with a potential long pot, but also leaves Trump with a cue ball quite close to the cushion there. And let's see, yeah, it's Trump there, just a little hesitation there, so thinks against it potentially. You know, has to bear it in mind that any mistake will be costly, and he would have already seen one punished in the last frame. After going for the shot that wasn't really there for him, but this time rattles and absolutely hammers the red into the pocket, and ends up brilliantly on the green. So a little bit lucky to catch it absolutely full ball and land nicely on it. But to be fair to Trump, I don't necessarily think he can do too much about it, as it'll be really difficult for him to screw back into all the reds from that part of the table, especially doing that from the rest. Needs a lot of cue action and needs it to be spotless. And there you go, it's always going to be difficult. So he decided to go not necessarily with a screw back, but add a little bit of right hand side spin there as well. So take a shortcut, it would seem. Seems to have worked out really nicely for him, as he landed in the prime position on the reds, and the transition to black seems inevitable now, as Trump is back in and around his favorite spot on the snooker table, the black spot. Once again, has got 3 more reds to try and work with, potentially 4 as well, with one of the reds being quite close to pink, but in the open area as well. So 13 points already. I would expect this break to be going absolutely rapidly, and the way it does, 20 points. As I say, still has 3 more reds to make it potentially 40 plus points here before he has to do any more positional changes. So that long shot so far working nicely for him. So far I can think of 3 out of 3 he's made. You know, there's 2 in the second frame. I don't think he's had one in the first frame. I think it was a mistake from Wilson that got him onto a red, not the brilliant long pot himself. 28 points here. It'll be 44 with those 2 reds played with the black. And then on top of that, we'll have to see what's going to happen next. Might actually, well, as I say, I would recommend and prefer for him to be playing from the blue side, being on top of the blue. But Trump decides to do a little bit earlier there and leave himself with a backup option. Clever shot, and you can always say clever because it worked out. I think if he hasn't, I'd be the one criticizing him, but can't judge the winner there. And Trump is very much in prime position still. He's got 2 more reds to try and deal with right now, on top of the one he already had. Goes for the top side of the blue this time. So I think just give himself control of the position. Potentially land on the red, the highest of them all. And once again, expect blue to be potted second time in a couple of shots, as 1 more red goes in, and break of 43 already. You're going to make that 48 Trump. I'm pretty sure he's got 1 more red to aim for, to the left corner pocket, and indeed doesn't go into the bunch just yet. He's got an angle to leave himself on either the pink or the black. If the pink does go to the left middle pocket, which from this angle it looks like he has, and he can. 49 points, so needs a little bit more of an angle on the black than I think what he's actually managed to produce to himself. So that will put him 56 points, which is not going to be enough at this point just yet. And goes for an absolute kill and smash, and don't think he gave him anything other than a future safety. Not too sure where that plant is going. That is the lowest of them all, but I'm pretty sure it's not going in the pocket. Trump will go and check that. And with the facial expression of his, it does seem like it's going to be a safety from this position. Still, I think he's done well to get 56 points out of what he's had. I would have liked it to be a touch more, as now it's going to be first time in this match, I should say, that, you know, the frame wasn't really won and the match ball wasn't potted from the first visit to the table, and a consecutive break from either of the players. Trump doing that in the first frame, Wilson responding to a century in the second frame. And I have to say, the plan that I was talking about wasn't the one that Trump played, but to be fair, I shouldn't really make too much excuse, because he's gone for a safety shot there and landed really nicely on the cushion. So just taking a red out of the game, you know, taking 8 points away from Wilson that he could have got, potentially. Should have been trying to catch up to Trump. So 57 points doesn't necessarily change the picture massively, but still more than enough for Wilson to get himself back in the frame with 75 on the table. So 2 reverse numbers. But first, Wilson finds himself snooker here after that shot from Trump allowed him to just roll up to the brown. And, well, at this point, of course, any sort of points deductions or points to Judd Trump will be key, as Wilson can't afford too many of those. And perfect from the first time of asking. He judged the pace to an absolute perfection. Might have judged too well, to be fair, and left Trump with a touching ball there. And he hasn't, but that didn't really matter in the end, as he felt like he certainly did. But Trump just doing a little bit less than I thought he would. The cue ball hasn't reached the cushion there. So Wilson has at last a little bit of freedom to himself. Still doesn't have a promising long pot, unless the one that you can try and hold for either the blue or the pink, but be one of those desperation shots. But what a shot to make that is. I mean, I did say it was a desperation shot. He's played it really nicely and almost too safe there, but hats off to Wilson for that shot. Really good stuff from him. And yeah, Wilson now going to be looking if there is a point in playing brown or green, or is that just going to be a snooker? So can't afford too many of those reds that, you know, can be singled out and not be played with a color for Wilson, because remember, he trails by 56 points now with 67 at this moment in time on the table. So probably can afford one more. I mean this one, but probably not anymore after it, because he'll be really tough with points. So does indeed decides to roll up behind the brown. So I think probably the wrong choice, if you ask me. I think that's not going to make enough of a difference for him. And the brown in the end not covering the entire angle for Trump to get out of. Let's see what he comes away with here. And he comes away with a brilliant hit and hope shot. Causes chaos on the table. And yeah, I don't think it worked out for him nicely. I mean, maybe it was a smart shot from Wilson then. If the things were that bad that Trump had to go for a hidden hope shot, maybe it was all worth it. And let's see if he is going to make Trump pay for that. For the mess on the table, I would call it. And straight away doesn't get off to a great start here, Wilson, as he takes the red, but that kiss of the blue lets him off the hook to an extent. Still has pink available to him. So the black has gone towards the left middle pocket there. Doesn't seem like it's completely covered up, but Wilson will have to assess that and look for himself. So far, doesn't seem to be rushing things, Wilson, and it's probably a positive thing. You know, we've had 2 really quick frames. I think we can deal with players taking their time on the shots, especially those being aggressive shots and break building ones. In terms of the red's position, one is just been potted. One is on the left top side of the pink in really open play. The other one has just been cannoned by Wilson and brought into a really nice position. So he gets himself 15 points on the board, 14 on the break. And hasn't got the most difficult of all reds to try and pot along the cushion here. So that will bring him hopefully nicely onto the blue. Tries to cannon up the black for good reason. Hasn't worked out too well for him as he had to sacrifice the good position on the blue there. So we'll see if he can get his way around and find his way around the table to get back to the lower part. But the good news is for him, if he does, he probably is a favourite for this frame. And I was going to say a wonderful shot from Wilson, but I didn't see that pocket coming. And it's a wonderful shot that turns into a nightmare. Break ends with 15 and 5 points goes to trump. And all of a sudden that will probably be frame conceded, as now with that foul he's actually left himself needing snookers here, Wilson. So a chance not taken, and a chance that could prove to be really costly for him come the end of the match. Trump now has a long pot that he's comfortably taken, so 4 out of 4 to my memory in terms of long pots from Judd. Trump has been really sublime in those types of shots. And once again now has got either black or pink to his name. Chooses to go for the black. And once again, really nicely on the red. So the funniest thing is he'll still remain with a break of 68. And, you know, you won't be able to get anywhere near that. But I don't think he'll mind too much. He just plays for the yellow. And we'll wait the yellow to be put back on his spot. So the maximum you can get now is 38 points, which doesn't do him a lot in terms of stats, but of course you'll get him over the line in frame number 3. And a really quick start to this game. You know, we only had 52 minutes, and it's already been 3 frames won. 2 by Trump, 1 by Wilson. So yeah, promising stuff so far, and a really good game, you have to say, from both players. You know, demonstrating some good snooker, playing on the front foot, both of them. And yeah, been really nice and eye-pleasing to see that. As decides to go for a little exhibition shot there, Judd Trump. Not too sure if the pink has landed, but ain't gonna matter because that is the frame to Judd Trump, as the pink does indeed stay out, and it is now Trump leading by 2 frames to 1 ahead of the 4th frame. A lot of good stuff here played by both players. Update on the other tables as usual. Si Jiaowei and Stephen Maguire are now level by 1 frame each. Mark Allen is running away with it against Chip Chayono, with Allen having now a 3-0 lead there. And John Higgins has won the long 2nd frame and is now on the break of 10 on frame number 3. So that's how the other tables are doing, and we wait for the action to resume here on the main table on TNT Sports 2 in this round 3 in Wuhan Open. The tournament that so far has been really good, really good in terms of some good snooker performed by all the players. You know, had some really good matches, even like Jack Lisowski, Judd Trump match. You know, the Zington against Stevens was actually quite good. We did the broadcast for it. The one we didn't actually cover was Dink against Stan Moody it was a shame not to miss that, because Moody, of course, came back from being 2-3 down to win that match 5-3, and has ever since broken the Dean curse and has progressed to the quarterfinals, where he will face Xiao Gudong there. So very much once again against the crowd and the home favorite, the man from China. And Stephen Maguire is experiencing just that after facing Zhao Xington, the Chinese world champion, the first one in history of China in terms of snooker, now facing another rising star, no longer a teenager, but still very much an up-and-coming talent, Si Jiahui. And so far in that battle in frame number 3, Si Jiahui is on a break, so looking to get himself back ahead in his battle against Stephen Maguire. It'll be a really tough ask now for Maguire to try and get himself in that match, but nothing is impossible, especially after we've seen what happened in his match against the world champion yesterday. We're finally back here, and Trump is ready to have a break-off of his own. Nicely done, but only just missed the pink there. Not usually the color that, you know, you get quite close to. It's usually the blue that, you know, you have to be aiming to miss, but that time of asking, it was the pink for Judd Trump. Now Wilson with the chance of a long pot into the left corner pocket. Goes quite hard on it, makes himself with a little bit of a cushion, but makes it really comfortably there, and a really good pot there from Gary. He's really nice, has got really nice angle on the green here as well for good measure. And there you go, he's back to the lower side of the table. The red now will be played into the right corner, not in the right corner, into the right middle, with both black and pink available to him. Decides to go for the black there, so once again here, after 3 really quick frames, could we see the 4th one from Gary Wilson here? The black is in, so 12 points on the board already, and the position that is looking really promising. It's hard to tell exactly how many reds sort of Wilson can try and make use of, but at least 6 of them. And of course that is considering that he will be lining on those exactly as he should, and he also is considering that the black will go on his spot perfectly, which he doesn't seem to want to do for the 2nd time in this match. Unusual thing to happen consecutively in one match of snooker. Wilson once again will check that he goes to the left corner pocket, and we all know what happened the last time. The referee wasn't sure if the black ball can go back on his spot, and Wilson has missed that black from the first time of asking and lost the frame to Trump. The first one, of course. This time has got himself a pink if he wants it. So we'll try and see which red to land on. Because of course that will cause another delay, because the red that is above the black wouldn't move. And nicely done there. As into the heart of the pocket goes the black. So once again, a little delay, as it will be for every single time that the black is spotted right now. Wilson will now check if he can eliminate that red to be causing that disruption. And if he can, there will be a massive time saver for him. And also just makes his life easier and more comfortable on the eye when you talk about potting the black ball. Nicely once again. Onto the blue this time. So a really free-flowing match, you know, something that we haven't even seen in the Wilson-Selby match, something that I thought we would see, but it's really nice to see both players playing the snooker the right way, as Stephen Henry might say, and just going all-out attack, producing some wonderful pots, having a really good pot success, and just taking the chances that present themselves. Hopefully that's not a jinx to Gary Wilson. Hopefully his break will continue after that statement of mine. As nicely done once again. Frees up a couple of reds to his name. The pink will now probably try and take its pocket. Whether it will or not is another question. But Wilson will be looking to get himself ahead by 33 points to nil. Gary's Yoda, the taxi driver. I'm not too sure which one you're referring to. Not too sure which one you're referring to. 33 points here for Wilson though. He's got a red to play with the rest. And then once again, has got this time an angle on the black to try and finally move that red. Make the referee's job a lot easier. And once again, he's on the red. So 41 points already, with 99 still on the table. More than halfway there. And you would feel like with the reds that are open and in nice position for Wilson here, he wouldn't really need to do anything else with the position. Just has to take, I think, at least 3 of the remaining 4 reds he's got to his name without any issues, and he should be just about fine. He's overrun that one slightly. I think he was planning to go a little bit more to the right cushion. Instead, he's gone quite close to the red itself, landed awkwardly. Needs to stabilize the position by landing nicely on the pink. Hasn't quite done that as he reaches a 50 plus break once again. And in goes the pink. 56 points now. 83 still on the table. So he's not saved by 27 points for now, but of course as he eliminates those points, that gap will be gone soon if he continues to be spending the time around the table and putting the reds in the colors. 57 now with 75 on the table. So the next couple of balls will be a frame ball for him. The red and a color is all he needs for a comfortable 4th frame win. As you see, he has a little race with the referee who's going to get down to the table first. The referee, of course, trying to get the color in his space, and Wilson wasting no time getting down to hit the shot there. And there you go, the frame ball is in. So a break of 70 here by Kyron Wilson, and in no time we already had for... No, I get that you're referring to Gary. I assume that someone is called a Gary Wilson is a taxi driver. Haven't really heard any of that, but fair enough it would seem. Gary Wilson, the snooker player though, is dominating frame number 4. Lines up on the blue to split the reds up off 2 cushions, and only gets 1 of them. So we'll have a difficult cut into the middle, or even a more difficult long shot. Depends on which one you prefer. Goes for the cut into the middle, makes it really nicely. Makes the cue ball run a little bit further for him to have any sort of angle on the next color. And once again, what a pot this is from Wilson. It's just exhibition style from both players. We haven't seen them miss a ball for a while now, as this time it does seem like it'll be the last one of the first mini session that Wilson has spotted. And indeed it is. So the 4th frame ends on a break of 82 here for Gary Wilson. And a brilliant hour of tennis here we've witnessed by those 2 players. Exactly an hour of this match going on. And it is now 2-all with Chomp winning the 1st and the 3rd frame. And Gary Wilson now taking the 4th frame to his name. We'll be back for some more action. Hopefully, Kevin, game on. That's your favourite phrase. It certainly is game on. We'll be back for some more action as the players resume their hunt for the quarterfinal spot in 15 minutes time. Stay tuned in. Right then, and we're back into action here after the intermission has ended between Judd Trump and Gary Wilson. It is now 2 frames each after the opening 4 frames here in the last 16 at Wuhan Open. So far it has been a perfect notch in terms of the spectacle, and it's a really good break off once again here from Wilson. Trump will have to try and find an answer himself here with a potential either long pot. Kevin Manelli, welcome back. Thank you, appreciate that. Good stuff. Good stuff. Anticipated there. A brilliant shot there from Trump. In terms of the safety play, he hasn't potted one. He could have bought one because he didn't have any available. But he found a good safety, and now Wilson will be the man to respond. Responds with just switching the run of play, putting the cue ball nicely on the black ball area and right onto the cushion. And one of the reds is now on the left cushion, just resting there. Trump will probably either take it out of the equation or just roll up to the bunch, whichever way he prefers to do. But I think the logical thing will be just to try and play an aggressive side of snooker until at least one of the players is losing. You know, Wilson had to overcome 1 frame deficit twice already. Trump has only found himself leading or drawing this frame. Wilson is yet to be the man in front. We're looking to make that now in this current frame. But of course, having a tough safety in front of him here will free up a lot of the reds here, that's for sure. And needs to control them well, and can't quite do that. Leaves Trump with an early invitation of a pot here. And we'll see what Wilson can do from here. Trump, I should say. Wilson has already done his bit. He left Trump with a chance. And surprisingly, I think it's the first one I've seen Trump miss today. And it goes wide there. Wilson is back here with the chance this time. Hasn't got anything straightforward that I can see, but gonna have to work his way out of it. Potentially go along the cushion there with the red being quite close to the cue ball. But of course not entirely resting on the cushion, so I think Wilson have to just double check twice or 3 times before he attempts that shot, because should he miss it, that red will be almost a guarantee to stay over the pocket. Wilson's turn. Try and produce his moment of magic after Trump was unable to take his chance of a long pot. And Wilson, ooh, the red just dropped in there, so it looked like he was going to stay out. In the end, drops it in. He's all right on the black. I wouldn't say he's perfect there, but it's a position and a shot that he can manage. Try play through the reds and just split them up. Needs to make sure the black is in. And got a little lucky there with a double kiss on the red. Quite comfortably. So 8 points now on the board for Wilson. Making that 9 with the red. And nicely on the black once again. So has got, once again, a lot of reds to work through. It's hard to tell you exact number. But certainly he's got 3-4 to his name. And probably a couple of others that, you know, in half decent position. I think there's just something going on there. Either with the spectators taking their seat after the intermission or just with the scoreboard. Because Wilson seems to be looking up there onto the left corner. Seems to be checking something with the referee as well. Goes back down and resumes the break. So now a break of 16. Doesn't quite land perfectly on one of the reds to the middle. Should be able to manage it and then hold up for one of the bold colors. Don't think it's going to be possible to play for the blue from here unless he uses the top cushion. And yeah, You seem to be way too focused on the angle there, on the yellow or the blue, and you sacrifice the potting angle on the red. So first real miss here that we've seen in terms of positional play since Gary Wilson missed the black from the spot in the opening frame. And now let's Judd jump right back in this. Now 16 points is the difference. Trump will have a chance to his name to try and potentially do something to the opponent of his. So really interesting to see what that's going to end up with. Trump is actually trying to force his angle around the black there, so land on the red. 8 points already in his disposal. And 9 points will be here for them to the taking, but still has got at least 2 reds here to work with around. He's got a couple to the middle that probably will have to make minor adjustments to. But apart from that, nothing too concerning for him. And once again, 16 points each now, with Trump still being the one on the table. And has got a red into the left middle there. So end up nicely on the blue. Doesn't want too little of an angle, which is probably what he actually ended up with there. So Trump with a little hesitation once. When we have this little chance, I'm just going to take it and say that John Higgins is now leading by 3 frames to 0 against Tom Ford. Mark Allen and Chip Chayonu is now lead 3-1 in favour of Trump. Well, it may be 3-2, but not 3-1. It is Mark Allen leading Chip Chayonu by 3 frames to 1, not Joe Trump, of course. And Trump there passing the blue after a little hesitation himself. So he's got a red into the corner pocket, and this time he will be just playing it into the black. So nice and steady there. 7 points ahead of Wilson. We'll be looking to make that 14 right now and try and do a bit more damage in terms of break building. And of course, Trump needs to be careful every single shot that he takes there. He just takes a little bit of those extra seconds that we haven't seen him take against probably someone like Lazowski, Honyu, or a Jabe. He of course realizes this is for the quarterfinal. Could be very important for him. And 31 points here. Looking to make that 38. With a 22 points deficit of 91 still being on the table. So once again, hesitation there and a little walk around the table just to make sure it's thought about every single position. And he's going to be taking the best possible shot that there is on the table for him. Once again, 22 points now is the gap between the two of them. As Trump has 38 points on the board, all of them on the current break. Now has got a left into the right middle. Not a lot of distance between the cue ball and the cue ball. And just has to bridge over there, making the spot a little bit trickier. Leaving himself with the wrong side of the blue, but still has a red on the top side of the table that could be played into the middle. And I'm pretty sure you just check the angle just to see how far can he be from it to guarantee himself a good pot. Rolls up on the blue. Once again, really nicely done. So 2, maybe 3 more pots and it'll be a 50+ break once again for Judd Trump, making his 3rd of the match. This time, nicely done on the red. So a blue here for a break of 50. It's still 75 points on the table. This all could have been sort of Gary Wilson's points, but the miss that he's had has cost him dearly. Trump holding back there and just about gets away with it. I think he would have liked a little bit more distance between the cue ball and the red ball, but he's all right. Let's go pink into the right middle to try and deal with here. And hasn't got it perfect, but he drops in, so he's all right. Gap is now 35 points. Should be 41 when this pink disappears. And after that, I'm not too sure what you can play there, Trump. And he just thought about again going for the pink and going potentially for the black here. But as I say, I'm not too sure what he's going to be playing here. And he's found a little bit of an angle on the pink, and he's actually managed to drop the cue ball right in behind the red. So, yeah, really good shot there for him to find. And yeah, some really good stuff there for him. 41 points clear of Gary Wilson. Now, just taking his time there to an extent, just to see which side of the blue can he land. And we'll see what his answer to that will be. So lands way past the blue there. I'm not sure if that was the plan or he just tried to do a little bit too much in too little of time there. But we'll have the green to his rescue. So decides to go for a yellow, it would seem, but once again still needs a couple of more reds or red in the color after this one. If he needs to do any sort of damage to Wilson in one sitting here, but the yellow stays out. And where's the cue ball going to end up? Is it going to go into the bunch? Yes, it is. Is it going to do any damage? Probably no, it's not. And Trump here with a massive chance, you know, sort of fading away from him. And it's a chance for Wilson to try and get back at him. At least get back in this frame. I don't think he's got a straightforward opening, but at least he can have a chance to still be in this frame with a contention. Goes with a smart shot there, freeing one of the reds on the cushion. And now will Trump come back to the table himself, try and force a successful safety shot. A lot of right-hand spin there, but could it be just a bit too much there, or is cue ball just going to stay out of the pocket? The answer is yes, it will stay out of the pocket. And it's Wilson that is at the table once again here. So taking his time there, Karen Wilson, just to see what the situation is. Of course, yellow going quite close towards the pink spot, covering some of the reds for a potential safety. Still should be good, well good enough for him to find at least one of the shots to get him safe. Potentially try and combine it with a bonus of freeing up the reds, but in the end, catching the middle jaw there and probably doing too many in one shot there. You show me quarterfinal? Absolutely, Kevin, absolutely. Quarterfinal, semi-finals, and the final as well. We'll be here for the action because I don't think we'll have any more action for at least a week, maybe 10 days, because there will be a China Grand Prix qualifier, which is not really going to be good stuff, thumbs up there, which is not going to be on the broadcast in its entirety, but also it's not the same feeling, is it, as streaming the main event. At least it's Watchalong there. Trump here with a frame ball after a horrible miss and horrible shot in terms of a safety from Wilson. Trump now gets the frame on the board after a break. So once again, it is Trump setting up the pace to this match yet again. And landed a little bit awkwardly on the red. I say a little bit awkwardly. It's literally touching ball there, so probably has to play around it. It's not like it matters, to be fair. With the 56 points, the difference. And 43 on the table. It is now Judd's frame. Judd Trump's frame here. As he gets over the line once again. Gary Wilson had a chance to put himself ahead in this match for the first time. But not this time of asking. And it is Trump that is back ahead here, leading by 3 frames to 2. Once again, we'll have a look at how the matches are doing. So Si Xiaowei and Stephen Maguire haven't had even the interval yet. They're still battling for the 4th and the final frame of the mini session. Looks like it'll be Si Xiaowei that will take it. And indeed it is. And now, just as I say that, the break will begin for them. So Si Xiaowei leading Stephen Maguire by 3 frames to 1. John Higgins is now leading by 3 frames to 0 against his battle with Tom Ford, Mark Allen and Judd. The scoreline is still 3-1 in favour of the Northern Ireland player. And of course, the main event, the main table number 1, featuring Gary Wilson and Judd Trump, has got Trump leading by 3 frames to 2 here after the interval. Still, Wilson having the higher break of the two, but so far it hasn't brought him too much in terms of their frame scoreline. As we still wait for frame number 6 to resume, it'll be really interesting to see what's going to happen in that Higgins-Ford match, because if Higgins going to run away with it, he'll save himself some table time and allow himself to be coming fresh here for what looks like, well, we don't know yet, but he will certainly be facing either Trump or Gary Wilson, unless Tom Ford can come back at him in that particular frame, in that particular match, I should say. But a really good snooker here from all the players, demonstrating to a really high level. And we can see in a moment's time when this action resumes, and it will be this time Gary Wilson with a break. It'll be really interesting to see how fast he can get underway in frame number 6 here. And yeah, let's see. As the player's almost ready to go back on the court. Still a little bit of a break here on the broadcast. And in a little while, we will be back once again. It's Trump now this time with a break. And a really aggressive break, as probably is the tendency for him. Leaves Gary Wilson with a decent shot to play with. So hasn't put him into too much trouble there. But still has a few options there, Gary Wilson, to try and get himself up and running in frame number 6. After having, I would say, a shocker of frame number 5. Needs to make sure he gets past it. Was himself in the past, and he's off to a good start here in frame number 6. So far he is with that shot. Good stuff there for him. And now Trump will be looking to find the thinnest of the edges there of one of the top reds. Send the cue ball back towards the green. And once again judged nicely there at the pace of the cue ball. Hasn't left anything in terms of the reds, but from the ones that were already there. Now Gary Wilson with a 3-2 lead. 3-2 deficit, I should say, to Judd Trump. Now Gary Wilson should be the one trying to do all the damage and try and get himself back within touching distance there. Gary Wilson taking his time here on the shot, so certainly considering all of his options and just trying to eliminate all the ones that wouldn't really work for him. So in the end, does he go for a long pot? He does. He makes it. A brilliant start there from Wilson. And what a shot that is to find. I mean, I would say that I thought Trump got himself more than safe there, but a brilliant, exquisite shot there from Wilson. Didn't touch the jaws by a millimeter there of the cue ball. And now Wilson with a prime chance could get himself on the score sheet once again on the frame. Early say that, but with the position that he's in, and especially the shots, some of the shots he's played, certainly will be up for it, and certainly is more than possible for him. Now Wilson with 9 on the break, nicely on the black once again. At least 5 more reds to deal with. There'll be probably more when he frees up the space that those ones are taking. Be released some of the other ones into the action. Needs to be careful though. Every single shot has to be judged to perfection, especially when you're playing against Judd Trump. Come on, Wilson. Exactly, come on, Wilson. I want a decider here. I want the best man win, but I still want a really good snooker from both players, and I don't want Trump to be running away with it. 24 points here for Wilson. So now we'll probably be looking to transition onto the blue, with him not necessarily landing but the best angle to go back for the black. So decides to skid off the reds there, so just still to remain on the black. 25 points now. Has got a difficult angle there on the black. I'm not sure if you can see the ping. If he can, there'll certainly be a bonus. Wilson local lad where I live in Derbyshire. Fair enough. Fair enough. I know where Derbyshire is. I'm not actually too far away from that. Good stuff there, Kevin. 31 points here. So we'll see now. The referee will have a look if the ping ball can go back on his spot. And if he can't, you have to go underneath it. And there's your answer. So the referee finding exactly where he can go. It looks like the play will resume immediately after it with not too much delay. No, it seemed like it, but no, because the referee still has a little look there and just checking the position is exactly as it should be, leaving the pink as close to the reds as possible, especially of course with it being directly on one line with the brown, blue and the black, those three being on their spot. So once again, a little bit of a delay here, but we should be back up and running shortly. Nice stuff once again as the referee does hard work on the pink, and Wilson can come back to the table. Has got only one red at this time around available to him into the right corner. Can choose from either black or blue to land on after that. And then after it, we'll just see what comes up for him. So 32 points on the board for him, 39 with the black. Still a healthy lead, but not good enough for him to sort of say a frame winning one just yet. As the black goes in, needs a little contact with the red to go in his favor, and he hasn't. I think he actually wanted to avoid that kiss on the red in its entirety, and yeah, I think the kiss there, you just push the red onto that line that it's not really going to be possible from. I think Wilson, with his reaction with a fist bump on the table, certainly realized that as soon as he struck that white, because if he was catching the red, it was always going to be difficult for him to stay in one line. So probably just a safety here for Wilson. Tries to put the black out of the equation to make break building and catching up more difficult for Chomp, but can't really succeed with that. But in his fairness, a really good safety in terms of the cue ball positioning. You know, covering the left part of the table, and certainly the bunch of the reds. Could still be very important for him come the end of this match. You know, this frame is really key, because if you let Judd Chomp run away with it with 4-2, could be a disaster for you. Chomp here doesn't seem to have enough power here on the cue ball. Has he left something here for Wilson? Chomp will be out as Goldie. Maybe. Maybe. I'll be surprised if he is, to be honest with you, with the way we've seen Wilson play. But everything is possible as Wilson here gets on the break once again as Chomp plays an absolute horror of a shot, you know. Wilson, I was just setting up the foul. Forgot to give Wilson 4 points for the foul. Now on the brown and goes into the bunch of reds. Where's the cue ball going to end up? Is it going to end up nicely for him? Yes, it is. So now Wilson with 5 points on the break and still with a nice little position to his name. 48 points. Already looking to make that 49 now and probably go for the black if he can just roll through it. And no, he decides to stay around, stick around for the pink. So 49 points. Looking to make it 55 here with the pink. And once again, skids off the red there, this time really nicely for him. Puts another red on the cushion. So another half a safety shot there from him. Once again, with the pink spot taken, he'll have to go on the black one. So a couple of shots more here for Wilson. I say a couple of shots more. I think 4 or 5 shots more, and he should have this frame under his belt and make it a 3-all draw. So that prediction of Chomp being out will certainly be a little bit better if Wilson wins this frame. Be a lot worse if he doesn't. 62 now being the deficit. Looking to make it 63 here with this red going into, and then the pink will be 69 points of a gap for Wilson as he tries to go into the reds. Once again, has got a favourable angle into him, but needs to be careful. He judges it to perfection, unless there are any that you can sort of try and play through. A little bit of backspin there, so he clearly is going to play for the middle, but in the end misses a really easy pink there. So to set up himself with a frame ball, all of a sudden he's got himself into the right mess there, and he's left an easy introduction with a color hanging over the pocket there for Trump. Come on, frame. Well, it's not for now. I mean, Kevin, it should have certainly been, with the pink being the penultimate shot before the frame ball. Should have had quite a straightforward shot into the middle, but misses it. And oh no, yeah, exactly. And Trump is in. Trump is in here. So I wouldn't panic just yet. It's two reds on the cushion, on the left cushion, in between the middle and the corner pockets, quite close to each other. So they're going to be quite difficult to split up, especially all in ones. But Trump now is in with a chance, and is in with 7 points here already. Of course, has more than enough on the table, with it being 67 at this moment in time, so can easily use the pink for as many times as he wants. But it will be a massive waste here if Wilson loses the frame, as he now is looking to see if that red is going into the right corner pocket. The answer is probably yes to that. And if it's no, he'll have to go into the bunch, either of them. So the answer is probably no, because he decides to go for the middle. And 15 points here for Trump. 14 points, I should say. Was still 59 on the table there. And 49 being the difference. So once again, Wilson being so close, just getting that pink would have made life for Trump just so much harder, because you would have had to play every single red with the black and avoid any sort of positional errors. But for now, Trump is pretty much in control of this break for this moment in time. He's got a nice little red into the middle. I thought so. He clearly didn't, because he had to play for the yellow shot, and all of a sudden it turns out he didn't have it under control. And it's Wilson that comes back to the table. So it looked to me, for all the world, that that red, at least one of them, was going to be able to go through the middle, but clearly they weren't. And now Wilson comes back with no real chance to get anything other than the edge of the red for a safety. Probably come back towards the black ball area. Had to miss the yellow though. I'm not sure if he actually tried to attempt it into the sort of middle pocket, and if he has, it was a massive waste, because he just left it over, hanging over the middle pocket here for Trump. And after a mistake there from Judd in the previous shot, it is Wilson with an absolute gift here for him. And a chance once again to restore that 2-frame cushion and get himself for now back in this frame, trailing by 48 points. Still, after this blue, I should say, it will be 51 on the table. The deficit hopefully reduced to 43 for Trump. He does exactly that. But this time, he managed to bring one of the reds into play, but unlucky with blue being in between the cue ball and the target red ball. So looks like once again just a safety here for Trump, but got one of the pods done. You know, he's still in this frame, and he's still in it with a chance after bringing the last red ball into the equation. Still has one more on the cushion, and now the one that is closer to the ball cushion area will be looking to free that one and send it down the table. But decides to go to send it down the cushion, so I'm not too sure with the logic of that shot behind Trump, because he's the one that needs all these points. Wilson will only need a red and a color, so not too sure what was the logic behind that shot from Trump, but clearly there was something to it. Maybe he was trying to make it a difficult safety shot here for Wilson straight away, but if he has, I think Wilson has got a backup option of just trying to roll to that red. Let's see. Yeah, surely he can just try and go to roll up to that red into the bottom. I know that there's a risk of leaving the red into the middle, but surely if you play it with enough pace and judge it really well, should be able to get away with it there. He decides to go for a pot here. Wilson once again just doesn't seem to have the patience here in his frame. He clearly feels like he should have won it already, but the fact that he hasn't, and still has a lot of work to do here. As Trump once again just checking every single chance that he's got in front of him, reaching for the rest, and just trying to see which red to play off a safety here after Wilson's failed attempt. Hasn't really given anything to Trump that he can try and capitalize on. Gary can be frustrated with himself. Yeah, I think he can, but he should be, to be honest with you. You know, the pink he had was pretty much a frame ball, you know, pretty much. I know he had one more red to make into the middle, but if he misses it with the position that it was at that time, you know, black being close to the cushion, it would be really close for Trump to come back in it, but because of 6 points that Wilson didn't get, Trump was able to recover the first couple of reds, and now he has 3 more to try and deal with. But now he gets them off the cushions. This cue ball seems to be heading towards the yellow pocket, but he's going to miss it. So, in the end, a decent safety there from Trump. And Wilson has to come back with one of his own. Thank you very much, by the way, for 103 people watching. I appreciate every single one of you. As Wilson doesn't seem to be appreciating the effort and the luck that he's been getting, as he tries to go for almost a cut there. Probably was still playing a safety, but whatever he was playing, he ended up with a bad miss there. And it's left it hanging over there, over the pocket, in the corner, in the right bottom pocket there. Now has got a couple of options here, Trump. Potentially even get the black ball into play, which will prove to be keen the later stage, because Trump will need every single one of those balls to pot. Thank you for streaming Love Me Snooker. Kevin, thank you for watching. Thank you everyone for watching. I appreciate that. Good stuff here. Now, Trump, is he going to be appreciative, I should say, enough of the chance that he's been given once again by Wilson? No is the answer, as probably is going to be frame conceded. As Trump had a straightforward, I would say, I would use that word, straightforward, black into the corner pocket, but he's missed it. And all of a sudden, Wilson only needs one more pot, and Trump will need at least 2 snookers to his name. And that red barely just dropped in. Don't think he's landed on the color, but I also don't think that's going to matter. With him being 43 points clear, 35 on the table. I would just say, try and play in behind the pink, and I don't think Trump will come back to the table after that. So, indeed, that is the case, and that is frame over, and that is frame Gary Wilson. Now, it is all score draw here, 3 frames each. After an epic 6th frame, it looked like it was going to be Wilson to have a straw in it. Then it looked like it was going to be Trump's chance to take it away. In the end, it is Wilson to take it. In the other matches, it's still Tom Ford against John Higgins, losing by 1 frame to 3 to the Scottish player. Mark Allen leading Chep Chayonu by 4 frames to 1. Si Jiahui leading Stephen Maguire by 3 frames to 1. So we are the last remaining sort of match at this moment in time that has a draw in the scoreline. Let's see. Game on. Absolutely. Absolutely. Says Kevin there. I think it is game on, but I also think that Wilson needs to make sure he gets the next frame, because if he doesn't, he'll still have Trump within 1 frame of potentially winning the whole thing, and you just have a feeling like that whole effort from Wilson can just come to absolutely nothing, to mean absolutely nothing in the end, and it'll be frustrating for him, of course, but that's part of the snooker. Yes, Wilson needs it. Yeah, Wilson absolutely needs it. Wilson needs it more than Trump does, and he needs it by a lot of margin, because you can't really be relying on those mistakes from Trump. You have to be dominating from the get-go. You have to be applying the pressure, and you have to be eliminating all those silly errors, silly misses, and the frustration with himself that he had wasn't justifiable. You know, you can be as angry as himself as he can, but He still needs to make sure that it doesn't impact his game, and he certainly did in the last frame. And I think he'll feel like he certainly was lucky. Well, at least I feel that in the previous frame, with winning it in the end only after a Trump's huge mistake on the black, rolling it down the cushion, played with too much power, and in the end the black stayed out, and Wilson was able to finish off the frame from that time of asking. So once again, as the delay continues, we'll be back in action shortly. Si Jiahui is currently on a break, by the way, in frame number 5. 115 points there, still for grabs, and he's on the break of 24 already. As Wilson here is ready to get the frame number 7 underway with a break-off. So far, the break-offs have been quite nice, but some of them, even though they were nice, he still wasn't able to prevent the other one from winning the frame. As now we have Judd looking for a potential long pot there. We'll see what he can do about it. I think it's going to be hard to refuse such long pots for Trump, even though he is no longer in the lead. And that's why, because he can make them count. Judd Trump, brilliant shot there, and a 1-0 lead here in terms of points. He's nicely on the blue here with the right angle and everything. Now has to assess the position and the position he finds himself in on this table. Pretty close so far. We'll have to eliminate red by red there to get through to the others and find himself with a little bit more of breathing space. So already 6 points scored there. Looking to make that 14, 22 and a couple more there. He's going to be playing in and around the black. I still am waiting to see if the black is available to be played actually. From the current angle we can't really tell. And once again the Trump hesitating there on the ball. And decides to go for the pink in the end, so clearly the black is not in the playable position as of yet, and that pink is not in perfect position for him anyway, simply because I can't really see him unless he screws back for one of those reds heavily. Can't really see him getting comfortably on one of the reds. But in the end, he decides to go for an extension and potentially rest shot there, as he does indeed reach out for his spider there. Let's see what is going to happen here. He needs this red, but also he needs to find a color to land on. You know, the pink has traditionally gone to the underneath of the pack of reds. The black is, as we've seen, Trump has refused on the previous occasion, so you would take it as a no, that he's not potable and it's not going to be played in the foreseeable future. And apart from that, he's got the blue and the ball colors to try and be working with, as the referee once again takes his time to be putting the pink in exactly the spot it should be. So a little bit of a delay in the game. Trump just assessing the sort of any plants there. Should he run out of position, need to require play a safety shot of some sort. And let's see what his answer is going to be. So which color is he going to play for? Does seem to be playing for the blue there. Seems to overrun it slightly. Was the first impression, but in the end, no. Landing absolutely perfectly on it with the right angle and everything. So just has to make sure carefully he gets himself on that red, just on top of the black. Nicely done once again. So 19 points already. So this break has been taking a while here for Trump. Of course, taking every single shot carefully, and a couple of delays from the referee to be sorting the positional play. As I think he gets really lucky here with the black position. I'm not too sure what and how easy it can be from potable from this angle, but of course he still needs to land on one of the reds of some sort into the left middle or the left corner pocket, depends on what his preference and the angle chances for him are. But it will be really interesting to watch that one unfold once again. So a break of 20 so far for Trump, and has been dragging on for a while. So in the end, he goes for just the pot of the black there, so not deciding to do any sort of damage to the position. Clearly eyeing up a plant, because I don't think he would have, just sacrificed the entire positional play. So clearly has something to play for. And whatever it was, he missed it. And Wilson will be in with a chance here. Only has 2 reds to try and work with. But all the rest of them are quite nicely bunched up. And with a nice little cannon, could still be making the most out of in the foreseeable future. For now, though, he needs to make sure he takes this red into the middle, which he does. Lands himself on the green or the yellow, depends on what he wants. Probably will have to go for the green, just it being on the same side of the table that the red is. I meant the right one, not the top bottom. So needs the cue ball to run. And it has, so the next 2 shots are going to be really key in terms of break building here for Gary Wilson, as he has a little look of anxiousness there, as if to say it wasn't really meant to be overstretching. So we'll land on the blue ball, I should say, but landed on it awkwardly and the wrong side. So I'm not too sure what he can do from here, and the only thing I can see him do is go for the brown and go for a do or die shot in terms of the positional play. Has to force it and has to miss it. The cue ball will indeed go into the reds, but won't do a lot of damage in terms of splitting them comfortably. So Trump is still in this. And comes back to the table for a potential cut into the corner pocket. Depends how huge it is. Maybe just a safety there lined up for him. And it is the second option there, so just a safety for him. And the cue ball left on the cushion nicely there for his opponent. So once again, Wilson there taking his time and evaluating all of the options he has. As for now, Mark Collins seems to have won his match against Judd and will become the 5th quarter-finalist and the first of the evening session, of the afternoon session. Well, evening session if you're in China, afternoon session if you're in Europe. Si Jiahui is looking like he'll be the man, just be 1 frame away from doing that. And John Higgins is going to break himself for a potential 4-1 lead against Tom Ford. For now, Wilson is just rolling up to the bunch and leaving Trump with a safety option of his own. So a straightforward safety there for Trump incoming. And the question and the problem for Trump is, of course, try and make it not straightforward for Wilson to try and do. Let's see, Trump there just having a look at which side of the bulk area to land on if he is to go for this particular type of shot, which I think would be logical. He can't really do too much with his bunch, and all you can do from this angle is try and develop it to an extent and send the cue ball into a free area, but it's not the style of shot that he's played there, Trump, and he's absolutely scuffed that one. Higgins alive, come on, John, who plays winner of this match, please. He will play indeed the winner of John Higgins, Tom Ford. So there's your answer. That will be a match of probably quarterfinals. As for now, it's Wilson once again with another chance after what looked like the most easiest of safeties you'll ever see from Judd Trump. Made the mess of it. And now Wilson in with a chance. Good match, thanks. Yes, absolutely. It will be certainly the match of them all, even if it's, Gary Wilson against Tom Ford or Judd Trump against John Higgins. It'll still be a very interesting match. I think you'll be looking for the like of name of at least one of them to Trump or Higgins featuring in that match, as Wilson makes the mess once again out of the position, just going into the reds way too aggressively and not leaving himself with any color to play in the end. So just a safety off a brown that finds himself miraculously closer to the black spot than to the blue spot, as the yellow is in the mix there as well. So only the green, the remaining of the bulk colors. Once again, Wilson unable to do the damage, as right now he needs to find an answer there to him. So once again, the scoreboard's messing me up. Trump has a good safety shot here, but once again, that red has traveled way further than he would have liked. The good thing for Trump is the cue ball has traveled even further and has landed on the cushion comfortably. So just the safety once again incoming for Gary Wilson, using that red that was closest to him. Needs to make sure he gets both the red and the cue ball safe. And he's just about done that, but still left a chance of some sort for Trump to be playing this red into the left corner pocket with a chance of sort of get the cue ball out of danger area. And just make him pay the price here potentially, but it is for now Trump that has to pay the price for his mistakes as he leaves Gary Wilson on with a chance. Not a straightforward one in itself, but not an awful lot of distance between the cue ball and the red into the green pocket. The problem is the red is basically on the blue spot, and with Wilson potentially having to bridge over those couple of reds makes it a little bit more complicated than Wilson would have liked. Once again, just checking if he needs a rest there, and I think the answer for that is no, but he will need an extension to go with that shot, as he refuses it, funnily enough, so he decides to go for a rest shot into the left corner pocket, it would seem. So he hasn't really made his mind up yet on which shot to play. And going to be really interesting to see what his aim in terms of the color was going to be. I think it will be a blue, but in the end, once again, Wilson's just trying to, I think he was just trying to do one too many things at once. You know, he was trying to get through to the blue, whilst there was no real point to be playing that shot then, and trying to free up all the other reds. You know, Judd Trump here, not being happy with the crowd himself. The referee will ask them to be a lot more quiet. And once again, it seems to be some sort of shout there. So Trump needs to remain composed. See John pick up trophy at Crucible, twice-star player. Ooh, wow. I've seen the 2018 final. I think that probably was the only final I've seen with John Higgins featuring it in the World Championship. Fortunately, he's lost that one. Of course, he had a brilliant campaign a couple of seasons ago there, but I don't think he got to a final. Maybe wrong on that one. As Trump here finds a brilliant pot, and that was coming. You have to say Wilson was just not too clinical, not clinical enough with those chances. And Trump is now the man that has the chances. Once again, you would seem that the referee's having a word there with someone in the crowd, just having a look with them, someone shouting. And Trump with 33 points now on the board for him as the blue disappears into the pocket. So really nice stuff here from Trump to get himself started in the 7th frame, which has gone a bit scrappy. You know, we've said the first 4 frames have been flawless. The last 3 frames, this one including, has been quite scrappy, and it took a lot more time already, more than an hour on the last 3 frames. Of course, first 4, when they were finished, it took less than an hour in the end. Haha. Was there Williams one? Yeah, that's the one. So you won, I think it was 16-18. Williams had a really good lead. Higgins managed to close him down, but in the end couldn't do enough damage there. 38 points for Trump here, though. Yeah, it should be a straightforward position. Surely not another mistake. Incoming. Lands on the black here pretty nicely. 59 points on the table. 25 already is the difference. In a couple of shots time, it should be game and the frame here for Trump. Once again, cannons into the red nicely there. And 2 more reds and that will do, I think, with the colors. So 4 shots maximum guaranteed for Trump here. He needs, I should say, not guaranteed. He needs 4 more shots there and 4 more pots to get himself with a comfortable lead and a comfortable chance to secure the frame ball in the 7th frame. Needs to be careful though. We've seen, late mistakes made by Wilson, and Strom here decides to go for shot down the cushion. Not too sure why, because he could have easily played for the ones opened up, so it worked out for him nicely. So I suppose it was risk worth taking in the end. And this is now the frame ball here, with Trump having a gap of 40 already. The black will put him 47 ahead, and we'll give a nice little cushion there. Let's see what's going to happen here though, as Wilson, he's probably not going to be coming back to the table in this frame, but we'll be keen to restore sort of his chances of winning and forcing a decider at least in the next one, as Trump now misses the red. So Wilson, I think, will come back to the table. There's only one snooker is in it. He's with a chance here, that's for sure. And Wilson now has got a mid-range shot there to try and play, and does it really nicely. So with a chance, once again, as I say, it's only one snooker in it. Trump should have probably done better there, especially with the position that was with his hands. One snooker always comes back. Let's see. I mean, he's got one red to try and deal with, one snooker to tie and force a respot. But as I say, it could well be something more than that. A free ball is never out of the equation, especially with the red. And let's see now. It's got a little distance between the cue ball and the red, but decides to go for it. So, okay, surprised to see that by Wilson. He clearly is thinking now about just going for the respot, and that will do for him. He decides to pot the red and pot the black with it. Let's see which ball is he going to stop on. Is he going to try and do it on the yellow? Or is he going to try and do it with one of the green or brown? Surely he has to do it on the yellow now. There's no point to try and delay even more. And that's exactly what he's done. The cue ball line is good, and I think he's probably just about done perfectly there. Gary Wilson gets himself at least a snooker, and let's see if he can get 4 points out of it at least. You never know, maybe still a free ball. So 31 on the table. So sorry, 31 being the gap, 27 on the table. As Trump gets the yellow quite comfortably, right head on, and returns the shot back to Wilson there. I think the scoreline is messed up here. Not too sure why. Let me fix that. There we go. That should be it. So 30 points, 31 points is the gap between Gary Wilson and Judd Trump in favor of the world number 1. And it's 27 on the table now, with Gary trying to get the snooker on the yellow. Hasn't quite managed to do that time of asking. Trump now himself will have a chance to do that. Thank you very much for everyone watching. Feel free to hit the like button and subscribe if you like the content. We'll be doing more of that throughout the snooker season, as we'll have a little break after this tournament before the China Grand Prix gets underway. And yeah, we'll be certainly back for more action there. The Strom this time responds with a really good shot there, and potential snooker for Gary Wilson. Has to recover from that one, Englishman. And yeah, I think he'll be frame over here. Strom surely will just pop the red here into the green pocket. The yellow, I should say. You're streaming the English Open. I think I will be. I'm not too sure about British Open, because I'll be trying to get to it myself and watch the final at least, as Trump does indeed pot the yellow. So a really good shot there, and surely a frame over and a 4-3 lead here once again for the world number 1. So I'll certainly try to do English Open there. Yeah, I think that'll be frame conceded here. No, it's not. I don't know why, but Wilson clearly coming back to the table with some sort of intention. The green is going to go now. It's literally hanging over the pocket there. So he needs to find 2 snookers on brown, blue, pink and black. I'm not too sure what he's doing there. But okay. Surely he's going to have to join on the brown. Well, he's tried to. And he hasn't done that. So Trump will see the edge of it. And the thing that will... Well, if Trump gets it and gets anywhere safe, I think that will be some sort of the end of frame. No, it's not. So trying to frustrate up. Maybe, to be fair, maybe it's a tactic. I mean, I can't really see what the other point of that would be. It's 22 points on the table, 30 being the difference. So 2 snookers to tie for the respot on 4 colors. Yeah, it has to be just to frustrate Trump and take this thing out of the game, out of the frame. For now, hasn't really worked out, as Trump now once again has a chance to end it once and for all. Hasn't done that. So Wilson will come back to the table. Maybe it will work out. You never know. We'll see in the frame number 8, as I think this one surely will still go to Trump no matter how much time Wilson decides to spend on it. But he's certainly trying to land a snooker, and he's landed one there. So decent. Wouldn't say Trump will be troubled by it. So I think 1 or 2 cushion escape should be straightforward here. Land in behind it. And only just though. I mean, it wasn't by far he caught it. Got the thinnest of edges there, but still counts. Wilson has got it all to do again. Goes for a nice little turnaround and send the cue ball back towards the black area and put the black out of the game now. So decent safety in terms of the cue ball positioning right on the cushion, but horrible in terms of landing a snooker and actually thinking about it. You know, I still think I actually think it is, Kevin is right on that one. It's probably just a tactic to try and frustrate and take the sting out of the game here. Frustrating his opponent, rather than actually try and land the snooker. So once again, just a bad attempt there from Wilson, and Trump has got another cut into the middle pocket. And this time he makes it. So surely a frame over now. Unless Wilson decides to spend another half an hour trying to find 10, 11 snookers on the black. And Trump just rolls that blue towards the green pocket, and Wilson won't be coming to the table this time around. Does indeed win this frame. Judd Trump, and now leads by 4 frames to 3 there. Brilliant match so far, and it's looking better if you're a Judd Trump. As yeah, we've had the first quarterfinalist of the afternoon/evening session, with it being Mark Cullen defeating Chep Chayono by 5 frames to 1. Si Xiaowei is now 1 frame away from doing the same to Stephen Maguire. Leads now by 4 frames to 2. John Higgins now is battling with Tom Ford once again in that frame number 5 to see whether he's going to go with a 4-1 advantage or Ford is going to close it to just a 3-2 deficit for the Englishman there. But now, just once again, a little break, and we'll be back for the action when the play resumes. What I can do for now, though, is let you know that this tournament will go up against this week. So we'll finish up on Saturday with 2 sessions being played on the final. So tomorrow, logically, will be the quarterfinals day. The day after is going to be the Friday. It will be the semi-finals, and then Saturday we'll have 2 sessions, the morning and the afternoon one of the final being played here in Wuhan Open, China. So we'll have to sort out the times for that, because obviously when they played the morning session at 7 o'clock in the UK time, for them it's of course 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So it'll be interesting to see if the broadcasters are going to leave the time starting of the session as the same as it has been throughout the tournament, or change it for the final 2 sessions there. For now, yeah, just taking this time to say thank you very much once again for joining. Appreciate you all, and feel free to like the video and get involved in the chat as well if you wish to. For now, it's purely Kevin dominating there. As yeah, still no signs of players coming back to the table as of yet. I think it'll be Wilson's turn this time to break. And no, it's not. It's Trump. I don't know why I thought it was Wilson's. I thought Wilson was going to be on the even frames. It is Judd Trump now with a break, and we're back in action here. Trump finds a way, once again, a brilliant break off. So could be the last frame here. Remember, he has beaten Judd Trump, his opponents, by the scoreline of 5-1 against Farah Hajib, 5-1 against Lee Kuan Yew, and 5-3 against Jack Lisowski. With a similar sort of circumstances there, with, you know, Lisowski being the man behind, finding himself to get even with 3-0, and then Trump winning the remaining 2 frames. Our quarter and semi-finals best of 9, please. No, the best of 11. Best of 11, and it will be the final best of 10. I will just double check on the quarterfinal, but I am absolutely dead sure that the semi-finals are. I'll just see if the quarterfinals are as well. But they should be. I think it will be logical. So no, actually it is best of 9 on the quarterfinals, and it is best of 11 on the semi-finals there. So there you go. There's your answer. And Wilson will be looking to find an answer himself, as he got a cut into the middle. He's missed it by a mile. Not even sure he attempted it. It was that far he missed it by. In the end, a brilliant cue ball control, so he probably actually didn't intend it and just gone for the safety side of things. Trump will just roll up to the bunch of reds, and way too much pace there for my liking. Skids off the reds and could have easily left a pop there for Wilson, and has indeed. You know, the cameraman was a little bit slow to show the remainder of the table, and Wilson has a chance to get himself in this frame. And an absolute waste there of Trump. You know, not really expected to see that one of Judd. But Wilson will absolutely take it. And it's now him lining up on the blue. Takes a little hesitation once again, rolls the blue nicely. And this time finds himself comfortably on one of the reds. So no damage done there for sure. Yeah, the position looks also really, really good there. I mean, you've got all the reds bunched up together. He's got 3 more reds to try and do some scoring damage in terms of points tally. So not too sure what Trump was thinking with himself when he's tried to have that reckless attempt of escaping from a snooker. We'll see what Wilson can try and find here, though. He needs a decent break. And he needs it to do all the damage in the world. Because so far, it was Trump that was doing all the damage. 15 points here for Wilson. Good to make that 22 and potentially go into the reds. So goes for the top spin, so probably not this time. As there's your answer. Decides against it. Still has 2 more reds to play for. I'm not too sure if the one on the bottom of the bunch, on the right hand side, can be played in the left corner pocket. And from this angle, probably the answer is no to that. For now, Wilson has a couple of more to deal with. Find himself potentially 35 points clear earlier on. Could be important, as the last couple of frames have been quite scrappy there. So a 36 points gap potentially could be important, but it won't be 36 now because the pink has gone on the green spot. So just the blue, it would seem. So 35 potentially here with this blue going in. And finally we can see a straight head from the blue into the reds from the cue ball. And nicely done there. Once again. Probably Wilson, I say nicely done, it probably was the best Wilson could have done, but he still hasn't found absolutely anything. He's gone for the red once again, a little bit reckless. But at least he got the cue ball out in the bulk area. So had himself safety of some sort. And now has got 35 points advantage to his name, but that's probably about it. Trump now goes for a cross double himself, aiming that cue ball towards the green pocket, but not generating any power on it. So obviously got that red way too thick there. And Wilson once again has a chance into the corner pocket. Rolls that one in, but misses it. Knew that one straight away. Hasn't landed on anything for himself or Trump there. So once again, it looks like the safety battle will resume. So Trump just has to be a little bit careful with his shot selection, as the last two I should say, the ones he's played has been dreadful. And once again, I am really not understanding why he can't generate any sort of power on that cue ball. Barely does enough there to get himself on the bulk line. Should have been way past it. Wilson now once again has a long pot potentially, but surely he can't take 3 in a row and miss all three of them and get away with it. We'll find out the answer to that particular question pretty soon. As once again just evaluating all of his options, so taking his time on the shot is probably a positive thing, but probably still going to try and go for the pot with safety in mind. So hasn't gone for the pot there, so just gone for a safety shot, and if it misses the pocket, the cue ball, it will be really nice. And he has indeed, so a decent, or probably more than decent here from Gary Wilson. Gets himself nicely there and sits comfortably in his chair, probably happy with himself on that particular shot. Trump now will be looking to try and do all the damage to his opponent in response. Now needs to get himself out of trouble, and he actually found a pot there. The question for me is, has he covered that pot that he just missed? So the red has stayed in the pocket, but the question is, can Wilson get through to it? And with a little smile on his face, which I think is sarcastic, I don't think he can. So he can't really see how he's going to get there. Yeah, so clearly he's not happy with the way things have gone here. So you can try and force one of the reds through it and just go in off that red. Use it like a pocket extension, but the red is a bit too far out for that, and the other red is way too far from the cushion for him to be doing that. He's also a frame down, even though he's 35 points up in this current frame. Frustrating game to Trump, absolutely, Ishan. I mean, absolutely is. You know, I say the 4 frames in the first place have been absolutely flawless, you know, free-flowing, really good stuff. Ever since we got back from a break, it's been dragging for a while, every single frame pretty much. You know, we've had 3 already, and it took 1.5 hours. The first 4 have only taken less than an hour there. So Wilson once again just trying to see. He'll be studying geometry and doing his A levels after seeing how this red has to bounce off the other one and probably has to refuse it in the end. So Judd Trump will be coming back to the table. And just has to make sure he covers up that side of the table. And the question is, has he done that? I don't really think he has, and he will leave Trump with a chance of some sort to get through to that red, through another red. So a little plant with a lot of distance between them, but no distance at all between the red ball hanging over that left pocket and the pocket itself. And actually, Trump has managed to miss it, surprisingly to me. Didn't expect that to happen. And let's see where the reds are going to end up. They're going to end up in favor of Gary Wilson here. He's already 35 points clear. We'll now be looking to make it a frame-winning visit to the table. So Kevin will certainly be enjoying that. And we could be seeing a decider here. Snooker in the previous game was the starter. Haha, yeah. Absolutely. I mean, I wouldn't say it was a starter, but I think the previous one was also a bit scrappy and took a lot of time. But I think that one was a nail in the coffin, because I think Trump has certainly realized, you know what, if you want to frustrate me, I'll try and frustrate you and be playing the game my way. Well, it hasn't worked out for him now. You know, in the 8th frame so far with Wilson, 43 points now clear as that red disappears. So the points on the table are still there for Chomp to try and potentially take, but you would feel it will take another horrible mistake from Wilson for Chomp to come back to the table. And so far we haven't missed anything like that in this break. Well, to be fair, it's only been 4 shots, so I suppose it could still be yet to come. 51 points now, 83 on the table. So that will disappear really, really quickly, that gap and that cushion that Chomp potentially has to get himself back in the equation for this frame. You know, those 2 reds potentially will give Wilson 74 points if he plays them with black. And of course, at that point, there will be nothing like that left on the table. So 66 already. That red ball will be 67 for him ahead, with 67 on the table at the same time of asking. And the black ball is now frame ball here for Kyron Wilson, so makes it work from the second time. And it looks like we will be seeing a decider here in this last 16 round here at Wuhan Open. As it's it's the second time. The first one was in the first frame. It's the second time I go Gary Wilson, Kyron Wilson. And it's Gary Wilson for sure that has won the 8th frame here. Has done it with a break of 39. I think Chomp now is certainly responding to this, you know. Ishan and Kevin, you certainly will know that. There's no way Chomp genuinely thinks he can try and get 2 snookers to try and level things up here. He's certainly doing it just to frustrate Gary Wilson and take the momentum out of him the same way that he probably feels Wilson took the momentum out of him in frame number 7. Let's see who's going to come out on top in these tactical battles. As you can see there, Chomp, yeah, you can see he's taking it there to the next level. There's actually a brilliant snooker there lined up. What a shot this is. Have a look at this from Chomp. I mean, talk about whether he was wasting time or not, but what a shot this is to play in behind the green. Landed perfectly. I know the sad thing for Chomp is Wilson has like 4 reds to aim at. And he got one of them. So all comes to none here in terms of the snooker search, but that'll certainly frustrate Wilson. And let's see what Chomp has to do. Now, I think he'll try to go for a long pot. And this time he gets it. So brilliant stuff once again. Could still be possible. You never know for Chomp, especially with someone like him. You know, the way his game is played. I just say that, and he missed a black, so that surely will be the end. And yeah, just Chomp there saying to Wilson, you can't come to the table, but I will concede the frame now if you want. That's exactly what happens, and we will have a decider here on our hands. 8 frames frayed, 4 frames all. Chomp was in the lead all the time, but could it be Wilson taking in the last and the most important frame to be leading only once and when it matters? That was a great snooker. What a frustrating end. Yeah, I still think it was a tactic there for Chomp to frustrate Wilson and sort of come back at him after what he's done to him in frame number 7. But could have worked out if there were fewer reds on the table, but with 4 of them to aim at, I think Wilson knew that it was going to land inevitably on one of them. Now, though, we're going to have a decider to land on after a little mini break, as the players will be coming back to the table shortly. We'll be back in action once again. For now, as we always do, let's have a look at the way the other matches are played. Si Jiahui against Stephen Maguire is still not over, with the Chinese player having that 4-2 cushion, but Maguire is the man in front here. 52 plays 39 there in favour of the Scottish in this current frame. John Higgins has managed to win finally that frame number 5. And he's now only 1 frame away from knocking out Tom Ford. Remember, John Higgins, if he is to win that remaining frame, will face the winner of this pair, Judd or Gary Wilson here. So, yeah, looking forward to this decider. I hope we won't be spoiled by any of the annoying mistakes, and it will just be pure brilliance from either of the player, maybe both. And it will just be let the best one win. We'll see about that. So now, I think the both players probably done just about as much as they could have. I think Trump could have been more clinical in his chances, but in terms of the, heading into this match, I think Trump always knew, especially after Wilson knocked out Murphy, it was going to be difficult for him. Probably didn't think it was going to be this difficult, a decider. It has been coming for Trump though. He had a good first round and a qualifier against Honyu and Farah Ajaib, with beating 5-1 each. Then he had a little bit more of trouble with Lisowski yesterday, and then all of a sudden he's got even more trouble here with Gary Wilson, and it's going to be Wilson to start the final frame here in the last 16 round against Judd Trump, and started off brilliantly there, right in behind the green, with barely any distance between the cue ball and the color there. So a brilliant start off there for him, and now has to try and do something about it himself. It'll be really interesting to see how he approaches this shot, as it won't be easy for him to try and be playing off one cushion, just especially from the right side, it being covered up by the reds, and it's really easy for the cue ball just to skid off it. And yeah, let's see. What about it? Trump there taking his time on the shot, so certainly thinking about all the options he's got, and he hasn't got any room for error now. Certainly you never know which Gary Wilson going to come to the table, but is it going to be Gary Wilson that had a century break? Still the highest break of the match, with Trump's 68 points break coming in the very first frame. Hasn't been able to get a clean break in ever since. And once again taking over 90 seconds here on this shot. And in the end, I think he's going to go for a 2-cushion escape and just roll onto that red. No, he decides to try and skid off it and lands into the blue. So a frustrating shot there for Trump, and certainly one he won't be happy with, because now he left Wilson with an opener and a chance. Of course, this is all been just a start. This last 16th round here, and we're about to see the end of it. Wilson with a middle range shot here, and he takes it. Ooh, nearly falls off the table there. That was nasty. Poor safety from Trump, yeah, and nearly a nasty fall there from Wilson. That could have had the frame and the match over. Nearly fallen off the table there, but in the end comes away in one piece, and comes away with a good position. So all of a sudden it's Gary Wilson with a decent chance here. 8 points on the board already. And now, what can he make out of this position? The position that looks very much promising. Didn't fall on the yellow low. Come on, Wilson. Yes, Kevin, come on, Wilson, for you. I don't really care who wins this one. Let the best man win. If Wilson wins this match and wins this frame, fair play to him. Being behind for the entirety of the match, hasn't led once, but could do it when it matters. And if Trump wins it, fair play. He's done it again. It won't be the first time. He has a real chance. Yeah, with this position, absolutely. Absolutely, with this position, he's got 1, 2, 3, 4 reds, potentially 5 to work with. Already 15 points on the table. Wilson will be nervous. Oh, he'll be absolutely crapping himself. Ishan, absolutely. I don't think he'll matter massively, because I think it's been all about confidence for him. And I think confidence will be quite high for him right now. Especially after, confidence-wise, he'll be high. But sort of momentum-wise, not so much after those shots from Trump late in the frame number 8, just to frustrate the game out of him. For now, he's got a decent start and 23 points on the board here. Hasn't got the perfect case scenario for him, but at least 3 reds to try and deal with. And anything on top of that, as I say, will be a bonus. Has gone too soon there, 24 points. Can try and potentially develop one of those two reds on the right-hand side and force himself into the left corner. He's an experienced player, years on the tour, yeah. Funnily enough, he hasn't beaten Chomp for the last 5 meetings of them, you know. He's only beaten him once in the last 7 meetings of the entire career. And this could be the second one. And it's certainly the one that Chomp would enjoy after having a scrappy start to this season. Could be about even worse. 39 points here for Wilson, and he's got 2 more reds into the middle. Potentially 1 more into the right corner. These could all be happening here. And if I was Judd Trump, I'd be praying I come back to the table for 1 more time before I need to face 5 or 6 snookers, as Wilson using all of that pocket there into the middle. As a result, landing awkwardly on the pink that has taken the blue spot. 46 points now for Wilson. So, has to stretch up a little bit. So, to choose 2 reds from. This is getting a little bit awkward for him. Probably one of the first real tests here in the decider for him. Needs to make sure he gets spot on. He's already had a decent shot from the rest at the start of the match, but hasn't had one now. Where's he going to finish? Not in the pocket. So sad news for him, but the best news probably is he hasn't left a lot for Chomp unless that red into the middle will be taken on here by Judd. He had a chance there, Wilson, but he was always looking like he was going to miss at least one of those, which has been the case throughout the last couple of frames. But Chomp gets this red in, and now all of a sudden he's not out of this yet. Still 91 points available after this pink, and he can certainly have another comeback here. Judd Chomp. Wilson had it in himself, you know, he had his chance, but I did say absolutely. I wasn't expecting him to do it in 1 break, especially not in the decider. I mean, the only good thing about Wilson was he had a brilliant position to his name, and that's why he got 46 points. That's why he got 46 points to me. Now Chomp has had 2 red balls there from a decent position, and all of a sudden now he needs to come to work with the remaining of them. All bunched up heavily. This pink is going to be for the frame, for the match. What's his position like? It's absolutely brilliant. From the position that he will absolutely take that. He has put two reds on the cushion, but pretty sure he will still take it. He's got 1 into the middle and 1 into the left corner pocket. So both into the left, either middle or corner pocket. Once again, hasn't got a blue to land on, so that will be a slight issue, but needs to make sure this red is in, and it is. Now this cue ball positioning, not great. Not great there. Just about in on the green. Nice split, yeah, absolutely nice split there. The reds on the left are a bit off, yes, but I think he will be able to develop at least one of them. It will be hard to do both of them in one sequence. But at least if he developed one of them, and for now he just needs to focus on getting the points in. You know, he still has a lot of work to do until then. Has now a difficult shot to face after landing too close to the green. 4 other ones are in prime position. Yeah. Still though, this prime position has to be utilized. It's a difficult shot here with the rest. Making sure that it doesn't touch any of the colors there, as the referee will as well. Easy spot to go in, and he hasn't, and he stayed over the pocket there, so where's the cue ball going to end up? Ooh, could have been behind the brown. I don't think he will be. So the end of a break here for Judd Trump. Made the best of it himself. You know, he only has himself to blame. And game done. He should be. From this position, it should be absolutely game done here. Wilson is already 29 points clear with the long point he just made. And now he has a difficult black to deal with, but After that, should be a straightforward couple of reds. There's a really good shot there from Wilson. Something he had to produce out of the bag, and he was able to. Let's see if the top of the two reds will go. If it does, it's a massive help for him. Over, says Mo Sufan. Absolutely. Should be if this red is in, and it is. So I'm going to now join you and say it is over. Because no way Wilson is messing up this position. Now he has only a color and a red and another color for the match ball. So the pink is certainly in. So 43 points is the gap. So needs one more red and one more color for Chump to only be able to tie in this frame. And with the red's position, still has one more comfortable one. Should surely be a frame and much over here. A couple of more here for Wilson. The black is in, so once again Chump can only tie. Needs this red for an absolute win. Wilson will be very happy, absolutely, Kevin, and so will you. I mean, he'll be absolutely buzzing here. And you can't start to celebrate because Wilson has won it. You know, he's got 3 snookers for Chump here to try and find, but with these black going in, he won't be coming back to the table. He will just be coming to shake his hand and be knocked out of this tournament. So 59 points is the gap, 43 on the table. 5 snookers needed here for Chump. Can Wilson just roll this red in? Under no real pressure, he can. So that took all the questions out of the equation. And that is now Gary Wilson in the quarterfinals here at Wuhan Open after a brilliant performance against Judd. Once again, as I say, leading the only time when it mattered by world #1 rank. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure he still has a really healthy lead that he's built up in the last season. Yeah, he's got more than 670,000 on top of Kyron Wilson, who's his second opponent. But have a look at this then, the handshake from Gary Wilson and Judd, and it is the Gary Wilson, the world #18, that comes against all odds there to knock out the world #1 out of this tournament after being behind for the entirety of the match, and the only time he was actually ahead was when it mattered. So we'll be back for some more action, as I say, tomorrow. For now though, can we stay up here? As you can see on table #2, Higgins and Ford. Let's see if Higgins can get over the line here. Yeah, let's just see here. I don't think I'll be changing the scoreboard. I'll just be keeping you updated with these ones. As Ford misses the black, Higgins is now on the red. Remember, he only needs one more frame to his name. Yeah, I reckon we'll stay up here because Higgins should book himself into quarterfinals shortly as well. So on the black here, doing it nicely. So now finds himself 4 points ahead with the yellow going in as well. Needs the green. So needs probably all of them until the blue at least. And the position is not the most straightforward one in the world. But of course, when it comes to John Higgins, he's the one known for making this position work. But as I say, if you can't do that from the first time of asking, I probably will say we'll end the stream here. But he got the green in as well. So 45 points here for Higgins. Place 38. The position is very much good. If he gets the brown in, he only needs to get the position on the blue, and that will be job done for him. And you can see once again there, he gets the brown in. So the blue for the frame and the match here for John Higgins to wrap it off. And he does spot the blue in here. So it is John Higgins against Gary Wilson then in the quarterfinal for tomorrow. I'm pretty sure that will be the one that we'll be doing the stream for. So thank you very much for watching, and thank you for streaming, top man. Yes, absolutely. Thank you for your support, Kevin. John Higgins legend, absolutely is. Yeah, and as I say, we'll be back for more action tomorrow. But feel free to hit the like button on this video, subscribe to the channel, and we'll be back for even more snooker content. Now, thank you very much for your attention and the support. We'll be back more with soon.